And we are live. Hello, everyone. This is an extremely late after party stream. You could be watching from anywhere around the country or the world, or you could be watching this from anywhere in the galaxy, coming to you from a galaxy far, far away in the spaceship Galactic Studios. Welcome, everyone. And you may be seeing this live or seeing this as a rerun. And I'm going to be playing the game, and then I'll read some things that I'll be reading on a future stream that'll be earlier. Alright, so let's switch this over here, let's see, and that is, oh no, we're just going to switch it anyway. Alright, I'm a little bit dark, but I'm here. Hello. And I hope everybody has had this is now the beginning of Saturday, in the early hours of Saturday. And basically, it is technically what they would call Holy Saturday. I believe it's called Holy Saturday, I think. And also, I'm a little bit brighter now. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the game and just take it from here and do what we do. Okay, so now I'm going to be launching the game as I do. Alright, here we go. Alright. Alright, so here we go. The game is loading. Yeah, so I had a good, the rest of my evening went well. It was nice. And I really appreciated, the very good stream earlier. It went, we had a good crowd. It went well. And we had some other places I was at went well too. Okay, so let's see. Alright, here we go. Here's the game part. Alright. There's the game, and we're just going to do what we do. Alright. Let's see how the ship is doing exactly. Okay. Let's see out here if it needs to be repaired. I think it might need to be repaired a little bit. Ship is completely repaired. Scared. Alright. Probably go in this tunnel for a little bit, and then we're going to go do the ship sinking and read some stuff. Alright, so this is the cave where they have all the monsters, little kind of zombie creatures, and they have some soldiers and stuff in here. It's quite interesting. It's quite eclectic. Alright, here we go. And that is not what I meant to do. Alright, here we go. Yeah, this is like the lava gorge. You have this lava that is oozing out. And then you have over here, it's a lady shoveling. Why you standing there in coal making a point or something? She's working hard. That's good. Dude's working hard. Were you talking to me When there are bandits attacking, get to the cannon and defend the towers. Yeah, there's bandits attacking, but these people are in a lava cave. That's quite crazy. Scared. That looks like silver to me. It's pretty cool. I like how they added these graphics in the game where you could see the precious metal content. Over time, they've really developed this game correctly. You know, it made it look much better. It's a dead end. I've been through here before. Alright, so we're gonna go look around. They got me. I didn't know they would get me that quickly. Okay. Now I'm going back over here to the original cave where we started. Now, we're not completely at full health, but we're just going to kind of walk around in here. His whole life, this person just shovels for eternity. That's the world in the cave. They would mine precious metals and diamonds and silver, gold, and stuff in these. All right. All right, you got those soldiers I talked about earlier, and you got these people. You gotta do shoveling. All right. All right, this is the catacombs. Oh, this is interesting. We're going to this area. Uh-oh, I'm being attacked. Alright, there's that place. It's kind of like a dead end, sort of. I think it's through here. I came in. That's their fire pit. Their fire pit from Timu. Scared. Alright. I was researching things about Billy the Kid, and it was interesting. He was born in New York. Then he came to New Mexico, and his mother passed away, and then he went into a path of hoodlumness and crime and lawlessness. So people had rough lives back then, and also now, but it was pretty rough. This is an interesting part. You have these lights illuminating. I'm quite sure where it's coming from, because it's like over here, but it might be these, or kind of like the ambience of different undulating light flows. They're doing this. All right. This area is pretty cool. I like the greenish hue to it. It's very dark through here. All right, yeah, this is like the deep in the catacombs. Coffins and some skulls and stuff. Kind of like a purplish hue to this area. Yeah, this is a mausoleum type thing. That's a big, tombstone. All right, we took that one out. Scared. All this. All these coffins, mausoleum type things. Very interesting. Looks like he got out of his coffin and he's trying to fight me now. He's trying to square up. He took me out. Alright. I could have used the staff probably also. Okay. So we're going to go... Wait now. Okay, here. And we're back in the catacombs. So catacombs are quite interesting. I like the deeper part, the darker part. It's very cool. Let's see the voodoo staff. Oh, they just teleported me to the prison this time. To the jail. They just teleported me there. That was in Blazing Glory. That wasn't the greatest idea. The volcano's going off. All right. Got some more potions. Right over here. buying the more potions in this area. Alright. Buy this. The elixir. Let's see. Moon's very nice. It's about to go down. The sun's going to be coming up. Now doing this. Alright, and that is sunk. Alright, firing at this. Okay. Both of them are attacking. Okay. The ship's in jeopardy now. Scared. That. Let's see if we get this. I got that one. I sunk both of them in spite of the ship being in a tight spot with the health. Okay, gonna go back into the shore. Okay, here we go. Now we'll have this ship repaired. Alright, I'll go sink some more ships now. Alright. Now we have these other ones we're going to attack right here. Alright. Alright, now we're going to take this one out. Okay. Alright, there we go. And this does take a lot of practice to do. It certainly does. But you have to, over time, I've gotten used to it. I've done it for a couple of years. Okay, so. And it's been really warm, but also kind of coolish at night, sort of. And that's when I misfire and just spreads out everywhere. Okay. I already have cargo, but I'm going to go and just bring it back. I'm going to go and unload. Alright, so we unloaded that. Now we're going to go to the other island and repair it. Alright. Alright, now what we're going to be doing is putting this contraption together. Okay. Right now we're repairing it again. Alright, so we're just cutting the wood. Okay. That went smoothly with the hammering of the nails. Okay. Patching up the leaks. I got it all repaired. Sink some more. Okay. I already went in the cave. I basically show what I want to see. And now I'm going to be attacking the ships. Alright. Okay. We got those. I'm going to go over here and get the other ones. Scared. All right, so in this situation, I do. This is the gaming part. There's not as much talking, and unless there's other activity going on, but right now it's quiet. And yeah, I enjoy cruising through around and sinking the ships, and it can be challenging. Now, what I'm going to be doing is going to one of these other islands to test my skills, and enhance my skills against the different enemies that are lurking around. All right, get the staff out. Wrong weapon. All right, continuing forward. These kind of tombs that look like regular tombs. They're not like the above ground graves. Okay. All right, got both of them. That is the above ground crypt right there. Scared. All right. All right. All right. Now going to the jail. So that one with the direct combat with the blaster does not work the best. Okay. All right. A little bit more of this, and then I'm going to read something that I'll be reading on a future stream, but I'll read it now as like a practice. This was mostly a gaming type stream, and not as much activity. But and also with Easter weekend, I think that it's good to reflect on God and people spend time with family and have their Easter egg hunts for the young people, and people color eggs and things like that. So I think that's pretty cool with the Easter season, how that is going. It's good for people to celebrate that. Hello, Remy. Good to see you. This is a stream that I started 53 minutes ago. I my live stream ended of many hours ago. I started this one very recently. This is an after party stream, so this is a separate one from before. But I am still up. To answer your question, that's not what you asked me. Yes, I am still up. It's all right, Remy. Uh, you're usually up quite a bit for the trials and the other stuff you do. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, I wonder what happened to you. You asked me if I was still up. Yes, I've been up the whole time. But my stream was a different stream. I got, you know, the I might not even be completely there to not completely get your question. Yeah. But yeah, and I this is like a surprise. I was going to do a after party stream, but it was way later than what most people would have thought. And I could have gone a little bit earlier, but I was looking at something, and I was like, people could watch it as a rerun, or I could just talk to myself and not really talk much and just do the game, so it didn't really care either way. So yeah, and basically, yeah, earlier was a very good stream. You did very well in the chat, and after you left, it was fine. It was a few more people came in. It was a pretty cool group. I then went over to Smoke and Scan's stream, and then I looked at some things and then did this. But as I said, it's much later than what people would have thought. But it's how I want to do it, because it doesn't really matter if I care about the subscribers, but people, if they come or not, it was relevant to me, because the people could see the rerun, and it's kind of experimental, this stream. And I don't know if I'll do a Saturday stream instead to do an after party, but All right. Remy says, I talk to myself all the time. I do as well. Oh yeah, absolutely. I talk to myself all the time. I have debates with myself. I talk about issues, or I debate things that are going on, or like there's a problem. I go and talk to a clone of myself about it. Yeah. It is 5:36 a.m. That's what time it is right now. Scared. I know it's kind of nuts from people when from different places. Like they'll still ask me. One time I was up until 7 in the morning, and Steve Kerfuffle asked me. He was like, "You're still up from last night?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I said, I fueled myself with different thoughts and things, and I just keep going. And also, it's discipline. There's also a disciplinary aspect of it too, to where I want to. I say I want to do this. I do it. No one's perfect, but I it's something that I like to do. It's a nice exercise in a way. Yes, absolutely. Yes. And I was thinking about doing one on Sunday for the Easter people. So yeah, Saturday's an idea. It's just, but I don't mind doing this because I wouldn't mind if no one came to the chat. It would be because people would see the rerun. But I'm glad that you came. To tell me hello. It's nice to see you here. Yeah, the Saturday streams are nice, and I like doing it when I can, and I enjoy doing it and being with the different people. Now there are times where I do other things, of course, and there's times where I'm working on different videos and projects, and sometimes I'm like researching something, like I don't know, stuff with the channel, other things that I'm interested in, something, other projects, and I just observe information and I stay up kind of late. I also like to reflect on the accomplishments that I made a little bit, and what I was able to do. All thanks to God about that. But I also like to reflect on the things that looking back on what I did. I always review what I did, and I appreciate the positive feedback and any kind of feedback. So, and the people that support me, I like to meditate on that too. Do I sleep at night ever during the day? That's a very good question, Remy. I go to sleep in the sometimes around this time, but recently it's been the morning. I sleep kind of like in the daytime for a part, and then I get up a little bit later. Not even 9 hours of sleep. But it's been recently. It's been like I'll be up and the sun comes up. When Rebecca Willis was here, it was the first time I stayed up until the sun came up on my end. Yeah, but I don't sleep all day long. Of course, you know that. It's just a little part of it, and I get up. I'm kind of like a vampire, but my sleeping schedule. Now I like nighttime. It's very quiet, and I like the daytime too, of course, and I like being in the sun. I like that also. But the nighttime is so very quiet and nice, and there's nice plants and stars to look at, and it just I don't know. I feel it's much more chill than during the daytime because usually there's a lot of cars and stuff that pass by and things like that. So I do like the night more, but I do like the daytime, of course, too. Yeah, but it just sometimes things extend to a couple of hours. And yeah, I had a let's see. They're saying in the chat about Billy the Kid, and I looked up about him. It was this bandit from the Old West, and that was something I was going to talk about in these articles and things I read. And Yeah, the dude had a hard life. So I was interesting that I like did research on him and learned about. Yeah, yeah. Thanks about the Sunday thing. Yeah, and I like the is the I get very high. I'm something about me. I get hyper focused on things, like a really hyper focused on stuff, and I could focus for a long time on different things. So that's another thing about me, that I have these different hobbies and things I like to fixate on. YouTube was one of them, and that's one of the reasons why I took off. Exactly. Right. Yes, Remy, that's true. And around 6 or 7, but you need sleep because that's when your brain heals and your body when you're asleep. Oh, sleep is very important, with health and stuff. It's where your body can recuperate and everything. It helps everything in your body. Thieves' Den. Yeah, and yeah, so I know the importance of sleep, absolutely. And basically, Remy also says, "Do you have dreams when you sleep? That's the best type of sleep for your brain." Oh, I have dreams. I do, and I do have good dreams. And a lot of times, I'll have dreams about meeting the people I knew on YouTube, like, and probably talking to them in person. That's a lot of dream. There's dreams I do have about that. Yes, thanks, Remy. And because that's it's every time. It was always in person, so that was interesting. So I do have good dreams, but also I've had dreams that are kind of strange, also. And it's gotten, I'd say, I don't want to jinx myself, but better as I've gotten older. But yeah, so I've had some interesting dreams, good and bad. Yeah, and but I have some pretty interesting experiences, and I do lucid dreaming where I could control it, or I can I've been able to been aware of what's going on and stuff. I've had spiritual dreams where I was encountering some entities that weren't too nice, but God helped me in the dream, get rid of the thing. But basically, and I had dreams that are good also, and dreams that are just interesting, and other dreams that are not too nice. And but yeah, I do definitely have dreams. Sometimes I'll be real tired during the. Sometimes I'll be tired in the evenings or some parts of the day, and I'll kind of like close my eyes for a second, and I'll have a little dream for a moment, and kind of snap out of it. It's a very strange. That's a His dreams last about a couple of seconds or a second or so, and I'll have that. Yeah, you have dreams within dreams. I do too, Remy, and I know about Inception, and I have Inception type dreams too. Yeah, I've had dreams. Oh, I've had dreams where I'll go to sleep and wake up, and it's not even really real, like Inception. Yeah, I've had dreams like that too. It's really cool when that happens. Yeah, and I had a dream where I woke up and I went to the trial chat, and it just was kind of strange. I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't even real, and I wake up. Like those dreams are really interesting. Yeah, exactly. I have false awakenings, and yeah, I remember I was talking to the chat and all of you, and there's one time people weren't really talking to me. I was like, okay, but wait, this is not even real. That's exactly. It's not even going on. Other times I'll have conversations with y'all in the chat, and I'll wake up and I'm like, oh, that wasn't even happening. Yeah, and yeah. So the I've had dreams of Inception type dreams with the top thing, and the top, the spinning top. I've had that. It was interesting. And sometimes I would get scared. Yeah, so dreams are very fascinating, and I remember I've created different things from them, and that's always interesting to do. And sometimes I watch the cat sleep, and he'll kind of dream about something, and he'll kind of wiggle his face, or he's dreaming about something. So even the animals do too. Oh, I had a nightmare one time about Tellus, and I wasn't, he nothing bad happened, but he just creeping me out. Is just that the guy's presence, everything about him is disturbing. It's like there's some people they'll give off like evil auras or evil vibes to them. They give blackness. That's what they will give off sometimes. Okay, Remy says, okay, well, I gotta go and get ready for the day. Hopefully, see you Sunday or at a trial. All right, Remy, you have a blessed day, and thank you for stopping by and talking to me. Yeah, tell us is a lollipop head. All right, see you later. Thank you, Remy. Thank you, and I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day and your weekend. So thank you. I really appreciate that. Soon I'm going to be reading parts of that article's going to read, then I'll be ending it. All right. Okay. now I'm going to be going to the next part of it. Here we go. Which I'll be doing this in the future. Not a future. I mean, what I mean by the future is I'm going to be doing it in another stream that will be coming up at some point, but I will just kind of do an overview of this other topic. Alright. So, here we go. Alright, so Billy the Kid. Alright, this is something that was. Did they say he's a gangster? Is that what they say? He was a gangster? He's a gunslinger. I'm thinking, like, that's not the right era for that. I'll be reading this thing in the future. Like, in probably the next coming streams. But right now I'm going to do it. So it's something that. It's like a little practice one. Alright. Henry McCarthy. September 17 or November 23, 1859 to July 14, 1881. Alice William H. Boney, better known as Billy the Kid, was an American outlaw and gunfighter of the Old West who was linked to 9 murders, 4 of which he was solely responsible, and 5 in which he may have played a role alongside others. He is also noted for the involvement in New Mexico's Lincoln County War. McCarthy, it's not McCarthy, but McCarthy, was orphaned at the age of 15. His first arrest was for stealing food at the age of 16 in 1875. 10 days later, he robbed a Chinese laundry and was arrested again but escaped shortly afterwards. He was from a poor Irish family in New York City, ironically, because you wouldn't think he was from New York City, but he was. He fled from New Mexico territory into the neighboring Arizona territory, making himself both an outlaw and a federal fugitive. In 1877, he began to call himself William H. Boney. After deleting a blacksmith during an altercation in August of 1877, Boney became a wanted man in Arizona and returned to New Mexico, where he joined a group of cattle rustlers. He became well known in the region when he joined the regulators and took part in the Lincoln County War of 1878, and he and 2 other regulators were later charged with deleting 3 men, including Lincoln County Sheriff William J. Brady, and one of his deputies. He was an Irish-born American soldier, politician, and corrupt law enforcement officer who served as the sheriff of Lincoln County. So he had some corruption to him. Boney's notoriety grew in December 1880 when the Las Vegas Gazette in Las Vegas, New Mexico, and Sunday in New York City carried stories about his crimes. Sheriff Pat Garrett captured Boney later that month in April 1881. Boney was tried for convicted of Brady's murder and was sentenced to hang in May of that year. He escaped from jail on April 28, deleting two sheriff deputies in the process, and evaded capture for more than 2 months. Garrett shot and deleted Boney by the age of 21. In Fort Summer on July 14, 1881. During the decades following his deletion, legends grew that Boney had survived, and a number of men claimed to be him. Billy the Kid remains one of the most notorious figures from that era, whose life and likeness have been frequently dramatized in Western popular culture. He has been a feature more than 50 movies and several television series. I don't even know what a cattle rustler is. Stealing cattle and duffing, especially in Queensland. All right. Cowboy is an animal herder who tends cattle and ranches in North America, traditionally on horseback, and often performs multitude of other ranch-related tasks. He was a gambler. He was a horse thief. Whoa, that's graphic. Okay. Outlaw is a person who declared as outside the protection of the law in pre-modern societies. All legal protection was withdrawn from the criminal, so anyone was legally empowered to persecute or delete them. Henry McCarthy was born to parents of Irish Catholic ancestry, Catherine Devon and Patrick McCarthy, in New York City, while his birth year has been confirmed as 1859. The exact date of his birth had been disputed as either September or November of that year. There is uncertainty among historians about the exact place and date of McCarthy's birth, and census records indicate that his younger brother, Joseph McCarthy, was born in 1863. Following the deletion of her husband, ouch, Catherine McCarthy and her sons moved to Indianapolis, Indiana, where she met William Henry Harrison Atrium. The McCarthy family moved to Antrim in Wichita, Kansas in 1870. After moving again a few years later, Catherine married Antrim in March 1, 1873, at First Presbyterian Church in Santa Fe, New Mexico Territory, and the McCarthy boys served as witnesses. Shortly after, the family moved to Santa Fe, Silver City, New Mexico, and Joseph adopted Antrim's surname. Shortly before, McCarthy's mother was deleted of tuberculosis. My great grandfather passed away from that in England, by the way, when he was young. On September 16, 1874, William Antrim abandoned McCarthy boys, leaving them orphans. So there's a lot of talk about, in this day and age, about people say ghettos and gang warfare that happens to this day, but You see, it's not a race thing. It could happen to any group, and see, it's happening to in the old west. It happened here, to them. McCarthy was 14 years old when his mother was deleted. Well, that's young. Sarah Brown, the owner of boarding house, gave him a room and board exchange for work. On September 16, 1875, McCarthy was caught stealing food. 10 days later, McCarthy and George Schaefer robbed a Chinese launderer, stealing clothing and two pistols. I don't know what that is exactly, but let's see what they're talking about. It's like hanging stuff outside, I guess. All right, there you go. McCarthy was charged with theft and was jailed. He escaped 2 days later and became a fugitive. It was reported Silver City Herald the next day that the first published about him. McCarthy located his stepfather and stayed with him until Antrim threw him out. McCarthy stole clothing and pew-pews from him. It was the last time the two saw each other. Alright, let's see. Silver City. Silver City was established in 1859, named after the silver deposits discovered in the area near Lyon-Carson border. After leaving Antrim, McCarthy traveled to southeastern Arizona Territory where he worked as a ranch hand and gambled his wages in nearby gaming house. In 1876, he was hired as a ranch hand by well-known rancher Henry Hooker. During this time, McCarthy became acquainted with John R. Mackey, a Scottish-born criminal and former U.S. Cavalry private who followed his discharge remained near the U.S. Army posts in Camp Grant in Arizona. The two men soon became stealing horses from local soldiers. McCarthy became known as Kid Antrim because of his youth, slight build, clean shaven appearance, and personality. At some point in 1877, McCarthy began to refer to himself as the name William H. Boney. On August 17, 1877, Boney was at a saloon in the village of Bonita when he got into an argument with Francis P. Wendy Cahill, a blacksmith who reportedly had bullied him and on more than one occasion called him a pimp. Boney in turn called Cahill a son of a biatch. Scared. Whereupon Cahill threw Boney to the floor, and two struggled for Boney's revolver. Boney shot and mortally wounded Cahill. A witness said Billy had no choice, he had to use his equalizer. Cahill was deleted the following day. Boney fled to return a few days later and was apprehended by Miles Wood and local justice of the peace. He was detained and held in the Camp Grant groundhouse, but escaped before law enforcement could arrive. Boney stole a horse and fled to Arizona Territory for New Mexico Territory. And hello, Five Cats Television. Good to see you. Hello there. This was a very, 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 very late surprise live about an after party stream I do at a certain time, so it's experimental. But hello there, Five Cats. I hope that you're doing good and that you have a good Easter weekend. Also, I'm talking about Billy the Kid from the Old West. I just one of the people at Smoke and Scan mentioned him, and I'm like, all right, want to do some research on him. And this man, he was an Irish immigrant from New York City, and then they moved out to the Old West, and he had a very hard life. But the Apaches, Boney stole a horse and fled to Arizona Territory to New Mexico Territory. But Apaches took the horse from him, leaving him to walk many miles to nearest settlement at Fort Stanton. Starving and near deletion, he went to the home of a friend and Seven River Warriors gang members, John Jones, whose mother Barbara nursed him back to health. After regaining his health, Boney went to the Apache Tejo, a former army post where he joined a band of rustlers who raided herds owned by cattle magnate and John Christium in Lincoln County. After he was spotted in Silver County, his involvement with the gang was mentioned in local newspaper. Thanks, Five Cats. After returning to New Mexico, Boney worked as a cowboy for an English businessman and rancher Johnny Henry Tunstall. In 1853 to 1878, near Rio Flex, a tributary Pecos River in Lincoln County, now in Chaves County, Tunstall and his business partner and lawyer Alexander McSween were opponents of an alliance from an Irish American businessman, Lawrence Murphy, James Dolan, and John Riley. The three men had wielded an economic and political hold over Lincoln County since the early 1870s, due in part to their ownership of a beef and contract nearby Fort Station and well prioritized dry goods store of the town of Lincoln. By February 7th, 1878, McSweeney owned 18,000 of Dolan, who obtained a court order asking Lincoln County Sheriff William J. Brady to attach a nearby 40,000, that was a lot of money back then, worth of Tunstall's property and livestock. Tunstall put Boney in charge of 9 prime horses and told him to relocate them to his ranch for safekeeping. Meanwhile, Sheriff Brady assembled a large pose and seized Tunstall's cattle. On February 18, I read that. All right. I don't know if I read it. It doesn't really matter. Who cares? On February 18, 1878, Tunstall learned of the post's presence on his land and rode out to intervene. During the encounter, one member of the post shot Tunstall in the chest, knocking him off his horse. Scared. Another post member, Tunstall, gunned and deleted him with a shot to back his head. Tunstall's murder ignited the conflict between the two factions that became known as the Lincoln County War. There's Dick Brewer. Dude kind of has hair like I do. Interesting. After Tunstall was deleted, Boney and Dick Brewer swore affidavits against Brady and those in his posse, and it's not posse, it's posse, and obtained murder warrants from the Lincoln County Justice of the Peace of John B. Wilson. On February 20, 1878, while attempting to arrest Brady, the sheriff and his deputies found and arrested Boney and two other men riding with him. Deputy U.S. Marshal Robert Windeman, a friend of Boney and detachment of soldiers, captured Sheriff Brady's jail guards and put them behind bars and released Boney and Brewer. Boney joined the Lincoln County Regulators on March 9, captured Frank Baker and William Martin, both of whom were accused of deleting Tunstall, and Baker and Morton were deleted while allegedly trying to escape. On April 1, Regulators ambushed Sheriff Brady and his deputies. Boney was wounded in the thigh during the battle. Brady and Deputy Sheriff George W. Hinman were deleted. On the morning of April 4, 1878, Buckshot Roberts and Dick Brewer were deleted during a shootout at Blazer's Mill. Warrants were issued for several participants on both sides, and Boney and two others were charged with deleting Brady and Hinman and Roberts. Battle of Lincoln, 1878. On the night of Sunday, July 14, McSween and Regulators, now a group of 50 or 60 men, went to Lincoln and stationed themselves in the town among several buildings. At the Sween residence, Boney and Florence Chavez, Jose Chavez Y. Chavez, Jim Frederick and Harvey Morris, Tom O. Follard, and Yignino Yignio Salazar, among others. Another group led by Martin Chavez and Doc Scurlock positioned themselves on the roof of a saloon. Henry Newton Brown and Dick Smith and George Coe defended nearby Adobe Banking House. Anytime something crazy like this happens, as bad as this guy's life was and the stuff he went through, he had an interesting story to tell. he didn't have like a boring life. It's something he didn't have to worry about at least. And the sun's coming up in the background. On Tuesday, July 16, newly appointed Sheriff George Pepin sent sharpshooters to delete the McSween defenders at the saloon. Pepin's men retreated when the snipers Charles and Crawford was deleted by Fernando Hera. Pepin then sent a request for assistance to Colonel Nathan Dudley, commandant of nearby Fort Staunton. In reply to Pepin, Dudley refused to intervene, but later arrived in Lincoln with troops turning the battle in favor of Murphy Dolan faction. A gunfight broke out on Friday, July 19, and McSween's supporters gathered inside his house when Buck Powell and Deputy Sheriff Jack Long set fire to the building. Occupants began shooting Boney, and the other men fled the building when all rooms but one were burning. During the confession, McSween was shot and deleted by Robert W. Beckwith, who was then shot and deleted by Boney. New Mexico Territorial Governor Lew Wallace. A little bit more than what ended. All right. Boney and 3 other soldiers of the Battle of Lincoln were near Mescalero Indian Agency when the agency bookkeeper Morris Bernstein was murdered on August 5, 1878. All were indicted for the murder despite conflicting evidence that Bernstein had been deleted by Constable Anastasio Martinez. All the indictments except Boney's were later quashed. On October 5, 1878, U.S. Marshal John Sherman informed newly appointed territorial governor and former Union Army General Lew Wallace that he had warrants for several men, including William H. Artyom, Alice Kidd, Alice Boney, but was unable to execute them owing the disturbed condition of affairs in the county resulting from the acts of desperate class of men. Wallace issued an amnesty proclamation on November 13, 1878, when pardoned anyone involved in the Lincoln County War since Tunsman murder, and specifically excluded persons who had been convicted, indicted for a crime, therefore excluded Boney. All right. So we have these interesting wars that Billy the Kid was involved in, and interesting to see his life, what led him there. You know, it's kind of like YouTube before there was a YouTube, so that's quite fascinating. And we'll continue to do more on this in future streams. All right. And all right, so we did it all the way to the sun coming up. So in this, as I said, many of you may be seeing this as a rerun, but I will be ending the stream now, just for the record. Many of you will be seeing this as a rerun. Some of you were here as to this kind of eccentric time that I did a surprise after party live stream, but it still went well and I enjoyed myself and talking to the Remy and 5 Cats. All right, and that's all I have to say for this stream. Thank you all for watching, and peace.